Artist interview number 1. This is with Mandy May Cheetham. Tell me about your name.
Well, I was named after Barry Manilow's song, Mandy. May is my great-great-grandmother's name.
Is she named after the month?
Great. 5 generations away from me, grandmother. She was alive when I was born. There were 5 generations of women alive when I was born. Firstborns. And it is. I was doing a reality show, and the guy.
What reality show were you doing?
Risky Business. It was a Canadian reality show.
You're Canadian?
Mm-hmm.
Where are you from in Canada?
Toronto.
You born and reared in Toronto?
Yeah.
Not in like the outskirts?
No. I tried to escape a couple times. Went to London.
So you did a reality show?
Did a reality show.
Is that your name to fame? Claim to fame? Claim to fame?
No. My claim to fame is that I'm the 2-time Toronto hip-hop karaoke champion.
2-time?
2-time.
Not one. Is that consecutive?
Mm-hmm.
Are you still holding?
There's only been 2.
Oh, really?
No one can take me down. Yeah.
So you're going to go back for a 3rd time?
Yeah, and then I'm going to retire. I'm going back for the 3rd time. Then there's going to be World Championships here in New York in November.
Is it related?
Yeah. And they're shooting a documentary on me and 2 other Canadian hip-hop karaoke people.
So what are you? Who are you? What's your identity? If someone asks you, who are you? How do you answer that question?
I don't like labels.
Of course you don't like labels. Who likes a label, right? But if someone asked you that question, what would you say? Would you respond with, I don't like labels?
Yes.
Okay. And then how would you describe yourself in verbs?
Well, I would firstly say I'm a woman. That's what I identify first with. And depending on the moment, it could be, if I'm working, then I'm an actor. I'm a rapper. I'm a mother.
Your mother?
Mm-hmm.
How many children?
1.
1?
A very lovely, sensitive, intelligent, 19-year-old boy. Man.
19-year-old boy, my goodness.
Man.
Man?
Yeah. Well, it's a boy. I know very few men.
So you said a rapper if you're working, and what else? Something else if you're
No, I said I'm actor.
Actor?
Mm-hmm.
If you're working. And you also say as a mother.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What do you do? So you said you're an actor, but I'm going to ask you, what do you do?
So I audition. I tell stories.
Okay, so do you enjoy what you do?
I have a booger.
Do you have a booger? Do you enjoy what you do?
I love it. I have done so many things in my life that I'm 100% sure that this is the right one.
Auditioning and
telling stories.
Telling stories. So it's interesting, you don't say, I guess a more common thing for one to say, maybe I'm mistaken, would be that I enjoy acting. But you're saying something almost that sounds more general. Or more, I guess it could even be more specific, it really depends.
Yeah. Well, what do I spend the majority of my time doing? Auditioning.
Uh-huh.
I mean, right now, these last couple of weeks I've spent more time shooting than auditioning, which is unusual. I normally shoot, like if I'm lucky, and I was last summer, and so far this summer has been good. I've been shot almost every weekend.
Wow.
Something. But I also audition like 3 to 5 times a week, pretty consistently. So if you average it out over a year, I spend more time auditioning than I do working.
What does it, when you worked over the weekend, the last consecutive weekends, what does it feel like to be working like that?
It's great. It's really great, but I have to remind myself how great it is sometimes, and how lucky I am.
So it feels great. What does it feel like? Is there something it's similar to?
Yeah, it's similar to being an athlete. It feels a lot like when I was a cheerleader, because the payoff comes and goes. It comes moment to moment. So one minute I'm like, oh, this feels so great, I just accomplished something, and then the next minute I just fell on my face, and then it's back to, okay, I got to try and accomplish something again, and then fall on my face again, and it's very much like training, physical training.
Yeah. Do you mean kind of like from take to take to take? Is that the feeling?
Yeah.
It's hard, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot of focused energy, and when you're physically training and it's something intensive like cheerleading, where you're throwing people around or you're being thrown around, you can't just shut your brain off halfway through. You have to commit 100% to that, 30-second, not even 30-second, 5-second thing. But it's easy within 5 seconds. It's hard to hold your concentration for 5 seconds. Just like, when you're on camera and you have to not blink for 5 seconds. I just blinked.
What's your passion? Or what are your passions?
I was gonna say making people laugh, which isn't really true, because I don't notice when people laugh. I get a feeling in my body when it's right, when something's funny, and when there's a great connection with the person that I'm working with. And I look for that feeling, and if I'm in a scene and I don't feel it, then it's like freestyle rapping. You take a moment, you take a breath, and you don't think you have to fill the space with anything, and connect with that feeling again, and then go after it. And it's always a better payoff than trying to force it. I think when I watch actors, that's what I notice most, is the ones that are, it's like guys with big dicks versus guys with big dicks.
Guys with big dicks, or guys with what?
Without big dicks.
Without?
Or who are not comfortable with the size of their dicks. Put it that way. It's like a guy with a big dick can sit back at a certain point and let the world go by and know that at the end of the day he still has a big dick. A guy without a big dick is running around chasing everything because he just can't fucking stop for 2 seconds because he has to overcompensate.
Security versus insecurity, I guess?
Sure.
So, could we look around this park? There's a couple making out right over there. Are they secure in their relationship?
Oh, they're cute. Yeah.
Could we look around here? And do you think you could tell me who has the big dick and who doesn't have a big dick?
And then I did grow up with one.
I won't single them out on camera.
Oh, really?
I could. No, I won't.
This guy doesn't have a big dick.
Going on.
What's giving him away?
His posture.
Posture. Do you have a big dick?
Yes.
You answered that really quickly. I don't know if you were covering for a tiny dick or...
No, I do.
What do you want to do with your... Let's say that you do art. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
Yeah.
let's say that you do art. What do you want to do with your art?
Makes me want to cry.
Oh. What do you want to do?
I think it's a beautiful thing when an artist gives someone permission to get close to themselves. And some people aren't comfortable with that. So comedy and drama, all of it, fine art, music, it opens people up in ways that normal life doesn't allow them to be open. That's why actors need to be so open and so vulnerable, because it's just like an aerobics instructor or a cheerleader. You know, when you're out there and you're performing aerobics or you're being a cheerleader, you have to give 10 times what you want the audience to give back to you. So if you want them to experience like sadness or relate to their sadness, then you need to go there like really, 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 really be open to it so that they can feel a little bit, a tenth of what you're feeling.
Do you bring vulnerability to your work?
Like when you moved to New York?
Yeah.
When you bring vulnerability to your work, do you find it begets vulnerability, or do you find that when you become vulnerable, you then afterwards close off a little bit, or do you find some other kind of dynamic?
When I'm not working,
No, I don't know.
the more vulnerable I am in my work, the less... no, that's not true. I'm not as... What's the word? Outgoing? It's not really outgoing. I think I was more like attention-seeking and outgoing before I became an actor, and now that I am, I don't. I don't need to be on anymore. Like, I'm on so much during the day that I prefer not to be. I'm a little bit more introverted than I ever was in my life before I started acting. And, yeah, was that your question?
I'm thinking of when people sometimes in relationships, when people get vulnerable and then they get hurt, what happens is sometimes they close off and maybe don't want to become vulnerable. Maybe I'm wondering a little bit, do you find that when you become vulnerable in your work, is it hard to continue to be vulnerable, or do you find that you close off at a certain point? I don't know, I'm asking.
Well, I was just studying at the Strasberg Institute, and I was learning about having control over that vulnerability, which is interesting. So when I first walked into the course, I thought, there's no way you can control this. How am I going to control my emotions? And why would I want to control my emotions to such an extent that I can turn them on and off and not have it affect me long term? Because then how can I be authentic with people if I have that sort of like manipulative control over my own emotions?
They really are comedic, and I still feel like I'm not shooting myself digital, so like I said.
But the answer is that the answer is difficult, and I'm still sort of sorting it out.
Mine is probably different.
It has to do with the level, how deep you let yourself go in any situation. So, you know, if I need to have some sort of result in a scene, like if I need to play a character who's connected to some pain, I don't need to necessarily connect myself to pain that's at the same depth as what the character's feeling. Like it's enough for me to experience something little that gets me close to that place, and then allow the text to take me the rest of the way. Then at the end of the scene, when it comes time to turn it off, I can turn it off because I haven't gone to an emotional place that's that deep that it has traumatized me. The text has taken me where I needed to go, and therefore I can turn it off when I turn off the text.
Weird, awkward situation.
So I think I learned a little bit more about that. In terms of your question about being vulnerable, I think the reason I'm not answering it is because it scares me. I'm super vulnerable and super sensitive, and I always will be. That's never going away. I have found that when I'm really deep in study, like when I was at Strasberg, I had a hard time relating in terms of relationships,
Like
with men in particular.
like romantic relationships?
Romantic
In
relationships.
scenes or in real life?
In real life, scenes, I can fall in love with someone in 5 seconds. It's easy. That's where I'm getting my my relationships. It's from acting. In real life, I'm intense in real life too, so it's not for the faint of heart, I guess.
What where do you think what do you think is there anything in life that led to this propensity to feel vulnerable in your life?
Yeah, I was a really sensitive kid. My family, there was a lot of alcoholism and stuff going on, and it's not unusual for kids who grow up around alcoholism to be really sensitive. It's like a superpower that you develop in order to keep yourself alive and healthy.
Sensitivity as a superpower.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I guess I would have thought of it as more as a tragic symptom or something of that rather than a superpower.
Superpower, because it makes you so powerful in life. As an adult, I'm very powerful in life. Like, I have this ability to attune myself to someone else, and it's funny when you do that.
If you were so attuned to it, you would have been tracking the hand a lot better than I have with the camera.
Yes, so it's a survival thing that turns into something great. I can walk into an audition room and read everybody within like a second. Because that's what you do as a kid. You walk into the room and read them. What is reasonable for me to ask? What kind of noise can I make? You know?
How can someone become more sensitive? Do you have any advice or any guidance how someone could become more sensitive? Let's say someone doesn't feel particularly sensitive. Maybe comes off as insensitive or feels insensitive.
Well, the first step would be, as they say in AA, to take the cotton balls out of your ears and put them in your mouth.
What does that mean?
It means stop talking and start listening. It's amazing what you can discover when you listen to other people and actually genuinely care about what someone's saying. Start there. And then...
What does it mean to listen? How do you know if you're listening?
What the person is saying is having an effect on you.
Maybe it's like less developed, sooner.
An emotional effect? I mean, you could be talking and I could be hearing sound. It could be hitting my eardrums. It's having a physiological effect, though I might not have any kind of emotional response to it. Would that be part of it? Like, have someone's having an emotional response to what's being said?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, some people don't talk to their emotions in the same way I do. Like, I think in terms of my emotions, that feels right or this doesn't feel right. But other people aren't like that. My son's not like that, for example.
He's not like
that. He doesn't, well, he probably is, but he doesn't articulate it. He won't articulate it. I don't know if he does that on purpose. To piss me off.
I think I miss articulate what or
he doesn't articulate it that way. Like, if I say, how does that feel to you? I don't know.
Oh, I see.
I don't know.
That reminds me. I've wondered this the case when people say, you ask them how they feel and they say I don't know, or did you like that? I don't know. Do you think articulating one's feelings is a skill, or do you think if someone says I don't know that they don't feel a lot? Or
I don't know, from like the things that I've studied, I don't know is a fear response. So when someone's afraid of something, I don't know is the response because they don't want to go there. It's too scary.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. I mean, I'm very good at articulating my feelings and helping other people to clarify what their feelings are, even verbally. And And in the times when things have been really heavy for me, I've caught myself being like, I don't know, I can't go there.
How happy are you?
Very happy. I have joy in my life every day.
Are you happy today?
Yeah.
Why are you happy today?
Because I feel, again, I had like a 3-hour rehearsal today, and
Doing
it feels
what?
like a good workout.
What were you doing at rehearsal?
Sketch comedy show.
Sketch comedy. Yeah. Have you been happy this week? Wait, today's Monday.
It's Tuesday.
Today's Tuesday. Have your last 5 days been happy?
Yes.
Yeah. You've been in New York City for 8 weeks, you said. Have you been happy in New York City?
Yes. I've had moments.
You had an interesting
Crying.
pause there. Oh, crying?
Yeah.
What was behind the crying? Was that happy crying?
No. I've had moments where I've been wandering around. One day in particular, walking up Fifth Avenue crying. Because one of the guys in my improv class made a joke. We were having lunch after class, and he said something along the lines of like, we're talking about starting a band, and he's like, what are you doing? Reliving your 20s? Like you didn't, you know? He's obsessed with my age. He just can't get over how old I am.
Do you want to share your age?
Not particularly.
Okay.
On camera.
That's okay.
Not that I care. Actually, I didn't care before I started acting, but the acting community cares a lot, so I don't want to
share
feed
your age.
that. I don't want to feed it. So anyway, yeah, he said that to me. What are you doing? Reliving your 20s. And I was exhausted, and I just had a bad class. I felt like I couldn't do anything. Improv is such a crazy drug because you either feel like you're the king of the world or you can't do anything. So yeah, he said that, and I just started crying. Just full on started crying.
Wow.
Yeah, that's me.
In the presence of him too.
Yeah. And he was like, wow. And all of my friends, like everyone else in the class was around too, and they were just like trying to make it better. And I was like, no, you don't need to make it better. I'm gonna cry, and you guys are gonna have to fucking deal with it. I'm not gonna like blubber or make a scene, but there are going to be tears coming down my face. And I'm going to sit with this as long as I need to, and then when I'm done with it, I'll be done with it.
So crying's not a bad thing.
No, I always feel better after I cry, actually. But then I kept crying later after, I don't know what I did, but later on that day, I just had this moment where I was like, am I looking crazy? Am I crazy? What am I doing? I'm however old, starting an acting career. I am crazy. And then I started crying.
Okay.
What the fuck are you doing? What are you doing?
Why did you start at this point? Your acting
I had
career.
to. I had to.
Have you suppressed these
Yes.
urges, desires, goals
Yes.
in your life?
I've been acting my whole life. Performing my whole life.
Oh, so what did you suppress? Or
I could never say I'm an actor, I want to be an actor.
oh, okay. Even though you did it.
I did it, like I did musical theater as a kid, and then I did cheerleading forever, which is like constantly performing. As a teacher, you're constantly performing. I did karaoke, like a lot of karaoke, like 2-3 nights a week for probably 5 years.
Was there alcohol involved with that?
At first, no. I took it seriously at first because I don't think that you should drink when you're performing. But then after a while, came the gin and tonics.
Was that part of the experience? Or was that something other than the experience?
No, I think it became part of the experience, unfortunately. I know that I can still, I know that I still can perform and be, exceptional without it, without drinking. Yeah. So I don't need to. All through my 20s, I didn't drink hardly at all because my son was young and I didn't want alcohol to be part of his life. I think kids get confused when their parents get drunk, even if it's not like they're alcoholics or whatever. They're confused. Like, is this someone I can rely on? Like, your children should never feel like they can't rely on you ever. So I didn't didn't want him to see beer bottles and come home and see whatever, wine, whatever. So I didn't drink in my 20s. But I had a lot of fun. I still went to parties and was a teenager and 20s, whatever. I compartmentalized my life. So when I was a mother, I was a mother. When I was a 20-year-old crazy dancing on the bar chick, I was that chick. But they didn't meet. So much so that 2 years ago at Easter, my son was 17. He said to me, Mom, have you ever been drunk? He was 17. Actually, when he was 15, we had a conversation about sex. He was saying, listen, I was asking him a million questions, and he's like, listen, I don't do drugs, I am not a bad kid, and I have never had sex. And I was like, okay, I just want to know, because I was 15 the first time I had sex. And he was like, what? Well, you had me when you were 17. And I was like, yeah. He's like, I said, did you think I only had sex once? And he's like, yeah. And then I had a boyfriend who lived with us for 7 years. And I was like, you thought that we didn't? He's like, no. He was 17. Maybe I coddled him a little too much, I don't know.
Maybe you what?
Coddled him a little.
Coddled.
Yeah.
Who inspires you?
Madonna.
Madonna?
Yeah, Jay-Z.
Yeah. Are these artistic inspirations, life inspirations? How do they?
It's a combination of business skill and artistic freedom. Artistic freedom, but knowing what's going to work from a commercial standpoint. I think that's really, really interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Would you like to create commercial art? Commercially?
I think it reaches more people.
Does it lack vulnerability? Necessarily?
No, not at all.
No?
Not at all. I think art that's not commercial in its like by its nature alienates people. It doesn't connect with people necessarily. I'm not saying that it's not viable or important. Because an artist may only have the capacity to connect with certain people, like they may only. Artists often have trouble articulating what it is they're trying to say. I sold fine art for a while, and they would come in with brilliant work and have no idea what the fuck it was about or what. It's like they're channeling divinity. I really believe that.
I'm reminded of when I asked you, who are you? Mm-hmm. You said you don't like to label yourself or something like that. I can't remember. Mm-hmm. It almost sounds like artists have created something nonverbal and they're forced now to try to compartmentalize it into words.
Yeah.
Is there any of that going on that you sense? Or we can even think back to your son. I don't know. Or is there an ineptitude to express the feelings? Or is there a fear in expressing it? I don't know. What are you thinking with artists in their work?
I think that connection, when you make that divine connection, it can be scary and overwhelming. And yeah, art is what it is in its form. So if you're creating a painting, it is what it is. And then to take that form and convert it into something else, it's now something else. I think it was Northrop Frye said something about literature. I remember studying him in high school. And it was like, once you've created a piece of literature, it no longer belongs to you. Any piece of art, it no longer belongs to you, it then belongs to the observer. So at that point, it's their interpretation of it. It's not yours. I really believe that. It's like, I have a connection with my divine source, whatever that may be to me. And through that, when I'm there, I create something, and someone else feels it, and they have their interpretation of it, and that's it's a shared gift of some sort.
What do you think you want your legacy to be?
running my cheerleading business, I was obsessed with like planning how I was going to deal with all of my wealth.
Well,
Yeah. And like generational planning and stuff, and like figuring out, you know, where offshore I could put all my money. Yeah, it turned out I didn't really need it. So when you say legacy, I think of it in financial terms, like the sort of buzzwords of the
okay.
financial industry.
All right, so you answered it that way. I'm looking for a more, I think a more general answer, but there's nothing wrong with saying that. It's interesting that that's what first came out. So you pass on. What do you hope to have contributed to the world, humanity, both? Or a person? Or a field?
What's your legacy?
I'm not on camera.
Your voice is.
I want to shape the minds of humanity. I may not be able to do that on my own, or with my own ideas, but it's a collection of others' ideas regurgitated through me, and to share these ideas in a way that could benefit the progression of humanity, probably in a more peaceful direction. That's just an extension, but I'm not thinking in terms of peace. I'm just thinking more of betterment. I see a lot of delusional people, I feel like, myself included in parts, but I like being able to show people where they're a little bit deluded, to become a little bit more aware of the reality around them, and then I don't know, hopefully improve them through that direction. And that's something along those lines.
To not be deluded.
Something along those lines.
I don't think delusion is like intentional.
It could be. I don't always think it's the case, but sometimes it's. Wait, but again, I'm not on camera though. I imagine you're a little bit afraid to answer this question.
No.
It's my last question for you.
Okay. I want people who see my work or read it or whatever form it may take to feel like they are able to live their lives like this.
How are people living their lives now? Are you able to do that with some people yet? How do you do that now?
By making myself vulnerable, by being honest. I had a party before I came here to New York. Invited all my friends and said, listen, I'm never getting married, probably not going to have any more kids. So you're never going to have to buy me presents for those things. Bring money, I'm going to New York and I need help. And I was like, once again after I set up that party, I was like, are you fucking crazy? When your friends love you, of course they're going to, you know. But who the hell do you think you are? What are you doing? The response from people was amazing. It was like, not just here's $20. It was like, I really believe in what you're doing.
What do you look like when you cry?
Ugly. And it made them feel inspired to do things that they
Made them feel inspired because you were going to go do things? Someone's belief in oneself. I know, I heard that uttered to me sometime in January, or I saw someone's belief in me. Boy, is that inspiring. So that was inspiring to you?
It wasn't, I'm not connected with people believing in me. not.
You mean it's not
there
familiar with
that.
it, or?
No, I have to work on that.
You mean you just believe it when someone says something like that?
Yeah. But like when I see them believing in themselves because they're inspired by what I'm doing and it makes them take action in their own lives.
So that they end up. I see a connection with what you're saying in the whole moving your arms out.
Yeah, open. They're open.
Yeah. You're already creating your legacy, right? You're pursuing your legacy even so.
Well, I mean, I ran a cheerleading company for 10 years and I taught thousands of kids. And big things happen because of that. I've seen kids that I coached that worked for me or that I trained that went on to do phenomenal things. Like one group, 2 girls that I taught, they opened a gym and they now have 800 kids. And it's all based on the things that I taught them when they were in high school. I mean, part of who they are, of course, but just like coaching with integrity and teaching positive body image and giving these girls a place that's safe and lovely, and it's like the world to those kids. That's 800 children that have been, affected by what I've done, and those are 2 coaches. So I've trained I don't know how many hundreds of coaches, and if one little thing, I know I've left a legacy already in one part of the world.
Right.
And I've, I know I have.
People a little bit like ping pong balls, right? They bounce off of different surfaces and go different directions. Some of these ping pong balls are bouncing off of you. And they're getting trajectories based on what you tell them.
The best I can hope for is planting a seed that they eventually think is their own idea. Like, it doesn't come back to you. When you're, like, a great teacher, it doesn't come back to you necessarily. They don't turn around and say, hey, thanks, here's a card, a thank you card. That can change my life. No, they incorporate it into their core, into their being, and they don't even know where the idea came from.
Would that mean that your legacy would almost be that you hope that you're forgotten?
As a teacher, yes. As an actor, no.
Thank you.
Thanks.